etc., etc. Hello, everyone. It is February 2nd, 2016. February already. It's Tuesday. It's Harp Tuesday. And sorry I didn't manage to get an episode out last week. Been pretty busy, but we've got one this week. And this week, I'm talking about Variation 3 on my Fantasy on Greensleeves, the Lever Harp edition. And so, 3 things to talk about this week, 3 things that we can focus on when we're looking at this variation. I'm going to start by talking about rhythm. So, this one is potentially a little bit confusing to fit together. And one of the things to be aware of whenever you're looking at trying to fit some rhythms together, and it's not like we're doing polyrhythms. We're not doing 2 against 3, right? Everything is all fitting together nicely in that sense. We don't have multiple pulses, multiple beats, multiple rhythms. But it can be a little bit confusing to figure out, okay, does the left hand come with this note or that note? And so one thing to always be aware of is that you can always count the fastest note. So we have some, or the second fastest note. So in this case, our fastest note is a 16th, right? We've got a bunch of 16ths. Let me show this. So we can count those 16ths, and that can make things a little bit easier. So we're in 6/8. We have 6/8 notes, so we're going to have 12 16ths. But we might break that into 2 groups of 6, right? Because in 6/8 we feel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? We have 2 big pulses. So at the beginning, then, if we're counting 16th notes, we see this. We start with the left hand note when we have a 16th note rests in the right hand. So, sorry, let me just make sure we got the right levers up and down. That looks good, I think. So we would count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this is 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Again, remembering we're giving 2 counts to each 8th note, 4 counts to the quarter notes, and 1 count to each 16th note. So you might write under each bar, you might write out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, just to make sure you know where everything lines up, right? So the dotted 8th note is going to be 3 beats, right? We're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When we have this little, etc. rhythm. So just being aware, you don't have to count, for example, quarter notes, right? You can count 8th notes, you can count 16th notes, you can count 32nd notes, and that can make it easier than trying to go 1 ienda or whatever we're trying to do. And of course, in this case, we've got groups of, 6s. So that's a great way to just approach that and make sure you know where everything's lining up. And so, for example, bar 64 in this particular edition, which I think should be accurate if you have a copy of this, trying to figure out, okay, so the left hand, right, it's got this dotted 8th note. So that's 3 beats. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? And the right hand starts with a 16th note rest. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And where was the left hand coming in? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so they go 1, 2, 3 together. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, that should be connected down to 3, etc. Oh, but this next bar, right, the start of bar 65, we have a quarter note in the left hand, so it's same thing in the right hand. This rest and then 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So the left hand's coming in after the right hand finishes. Anyway, just remember you can always count the fastest note in order to make everything clear. Second thing to talk about is just that this is the left hand has the tune, right? And so often the left hand is just playing the accompaniment. So this is a great chance to think about and focus on the left hand. And that can be hard. For example, it can be really hard to try and play, say, left hand loud and the right hand soft. It can also be hard to try to play the right hand loud and the left hand soft, but we're more used to hearing the right hand, right? So to try and listen to the left hand and try to back the right hand way down is great practice for control, right? For that being able to play loud or soft in either hand independently of the other one. And in this case, we're trying to focus in on this nice melody. And I mark this peacefully. I think you can take this quite slowly. It gives us time to do these lever changes, which I'll talk about in a moment, and to do all this sort of little ornamentation, right? So we want to hear that right hand, but we don't want it to be the main thing that we're hearing, right? And so when it fades out, we don't want it to come as a shock, because we want to be focused in on this. So we're still hearing that thread of the tune in the left hand. So something just to be aware of. Final thing to talk about are lever changes. So this is the great practice for some fast lever changes, because as we get into the end of the first verse and heading towards the refrain, suddenly we got to get these D sharps. So of course we have this low C sharp that's been set from the very beginning. We're finally going to access that. But we're also having to change these two these two D sharps at various times. So the first one, is a right hand one, and I talked about this on my episode about lever changes. But just it's always good to be aware when you're looking through, and I was looking through trying to figure out how can I do this on the lever harp. It's always an option if the right hand's not doing anything. Come over, especially in this region. It'll be a little harder to reach down here, a little more awkward. But this one, not a problem, right? So great. If you've never done that before, it might feel kind of strange to begin with, but it's pretty easy. And we got a fair amount of time for that one, right? And then the left hand has this really hard one, because the tune's going along. Right, we've only got a dotted eighth note to change that lever. So one thing, and again, I think I talked about this as well, is we can always try to get a little bit higher up on the string, which we would normally not do, right? But so that we're a little bit closer to where we're headed for the lever change. And of course, we want to try to memorize this so that our eyes can be focused on where we're going. Maybe watching the strings, looking. So that's again a spot where if we take this whole thing a little bit too fast, it's going to be really hard to get this in time. So this would be a spot that requires some practice, right? Just working on that. Just that left hand bit, right? Just getting into that, or maybe even just noticing what's happening before. Sorry. And just trying to get from here up to here and back as smoothly and quickly as possible, and then eventually practicing that with those right hand notes in there as well. So that lever change is tough. It's quite hard. A great spot to just practice working on those fast, efficient lever changes. And that brings us to the bridge, which we'll talk about next week. We'll talk about the bridge and variation 4, and that will leave us one more episode after that. So 2 more episodes, and we'll be finished. And yeah, I'm really enjoying doing this look through this lever harp version. Hope you're enjoying watching, and I will see you next week. Cheers.